Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press, with myself, Ty, and we've got the brilliant Kristian with us as well. Firstly, before we start, for our regular viewers, apologies, it has been a while. Unfortunately, life just got in the way, so we've had to delay it a bit. And we've just not we penciled this in a couple of weeks ago because we knew we had a couple of weeks busy and a couple of really heavy weeks. So yeah, Chris, I think you just let everyone know why exactly it's been such an absolutely manic few weeks for us, and we've not been able to, because we started this just at the start of the pandemic, and we have been every single week. We released
every week,
apart from I think it was the time when I went away in December, but that was like 10 days. This is the longest it's been without us, so we weren't going to sack it off. We'll go on, Chris. Let us know why we've had to delay it.
2 words. Wedding season. Wedding season is the one. For those, I've been to one of my good mates' wedding, and I was best man. And you know what? If any of you have been best man out there, you know how stressful a time it is. You've got quite a lot of responsibilities. That you think of the rings and everything else. But long story short, best man speech took over my life for the last couple of weeks because I left it at the last minute, even though I've had 3 years to prepare it. So yeah, it's my fault. It's all my fault. Nothing to do with Ty, but we're back, and obviously we've got a lot of good content coming up. Even though the season's coming to an end, we've got a good few important fixtures, and then obviously throughout pre-season we're going to be building up to like the World Cup. Obviously we'll cover some podcasts of our favourite World Cups and things like that in line. So we've got a lot of coming up in the next few weeks, so it's quite exciting. So what about yourself, Ty? What have you been filling your time with?
Yeah, so I've been playing football, been part of grassroots for the last more than 25 years, more than more than a quarter of a century. So the last 6 years I've been being player manager. This year has been the toughest year of my footballing career. It's been mad. I mean, the amount of players I've had let me down. I've had players leave. I've had players just let me down. I've had, the inability of people not letting you know with a single thumb up or thumb down if it can be available or not. Just having players that aren't good enough to play for you, just like having to do all the donkey work, and it just really. And we were, just to give everyone a bit of an idea of where we were in January, sort of halfway through the season, just short. We were bottom of the table with 0 points. So the absolute, for us to stay up would have been like Liverpool in the quadruple. We managed to do it. Just about. Yeah, so we stayed up quite comfortably in the end. But we had to get enough games, but then towards the end of the season, it was just, we were playing like 2-3 games a week, you know what I mean? Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday sort of thing, get the fixtures in. But we would up fine anyway. In the last 2 games, we got two really heavy defeats, because I think the guys were on the beach, you know what I mean, as much as
yeah. So you would compare yourself to Newcastle. You're like an Eddie Howe, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, it was funny when Eddie Howe took over Newcastle. I thought Newcastle in a similar situation to us here. Do you know what I mean? They can, so every time they got a result, we tend to get a result as well. But we just managed to, But just looking at, I mean, I'm seriously debating. I mean, I was umming and ahhing about what I was going to do. I said I don't like making sort of rash decisions. So after the last game I could have easily got beaten up, and I'm giving it up. But I said I'm going to give it a while, and I'll give it a few weeks and see where I am with it. Because if I'm not enjoying, I always think with anything, with football, sport, anything in life, if you don't enjoy it, what's the point? So so no, I've got. It's been a tough season, but the season's over now. So because normally we do these every sort of midweek, but with games on Wednesday and midweek cricket season started as well. So I play that. And you know what I mean? It was just, and then you couldn't do those days. So it's trying to marry everything up to make sure we can do it. But obviously with the season over now, and we'll be back on it now. And anyway, I know you didn't tune in to listen to us about our lives for the last few weeks. So yeah, you want to know what we're going to talk about today. Well, we've got a shitload to talk about, but we are going to talk about is obviously Premier League is coming to an end. We've got an unbelievable title race. I said this at the start when we started this podcast. I said Liverpool and Man City are 2 of the greatest teams the Premier League's ever seen, and I firmly, absolutely stand by that. The numbers of points, the records, the performance that these 2 clubs and teams are putting up, and we're obviously Liverpool fans, we don't want Man City to win, but regardless of what happens on Sunday, I mean, both of those teams are unbelievable machines, do you know what I mean? And 2 of the greatest managers the league's ever seen as well. And what we've done, the quadruple on its, to even what we made the 19th or so, for us to even be discussing a quadruple for any club, it blows your mind. I mean, this is the greatest season for me in the history of the game, to play every single game, to be in every cup competition final, and to take the Premier League to the final day of the season. I mean, I'm not having any argument to say otherwise. It's just absolutely bonkers what they've done and what Klopp's done with that team. And you think about who he's brought in from last season. It's Canate, that is it. And then obviously you've got Luis Diaz in January. But that is it, you know what I mean? So this same squad that all the pundits were saying, Chelsea's got a better squad, Man United got a better squad. No, Liverpool have got a really good squad. The reserve team went to Southampton. They won 2-1, but they smashed them. Do you know what I mean? So there's, it's just been a brilliant, brilliant season. And now we've obviously got to the stage now, to the crunch. And it's not just the Premier League. Obviously, we're going to discuss everything. There's a Champions League. We won't say anything about Arsenal just yet. And then there's the relegation as well, where it's just been, it's been loads to talk about. But what's I'm going to kick it off, Chris, by asking you a question. I'm probably going to say, we've, and it's hard to answer this. I'd say, any regrets from us for the season gone?
As a Liverpool fan, yes, some regrets, but you can't have too many. You can't have many at all. If I'm being picky, you look back at the instances where we have been 2-0 up in games. I think we were 2-0 up and we drew against Brighton. That was one time where I came down to see you. 2-0 up, ended up drawing against Brighton 2-2. And then you think more recently of the Spurs game, where I think we were comfortably the better team, but you've always got that threat. You just don't know how Man City would have gone. They probably would have spanked West Ham if we'd have beat them, because you just don't know how it's going to go. So it's those little results. One of my other regrets, I'd say, is that we didn't. I don't know whether we actually beat a top 3 team or top 4 team. I think we drew twice with City and we drew twice with Chelsea, obviously, other than the cup games, and then I think Tottenham as well. Tottenham as well was the other 2 draws. Maybe the draws, but you can't have too many regrets. It's like you say there. We're on 19th of May at the moment, and we're still in with a shout. We played every single game. So you can't have too many regrets. And every other season, pretty much barring 3 or 4, I want to say, we would have won the title as well. United, when they done the treble, I was looking, they won the league and they had 87 points that year. 78 points. They won the league that year. So it just goes to show that, like you said, the level has been elevated completely and utterly. And I'm just really happy with the way things have turned out. And if we do actually manage to get the quadruple and Stevie does us a favour on last day, it'll be Liverpool might as well stop playing because they've completed football at that point. But as much as I can't, as much as I can't see it, it's like what happens after that? What happened? Once you won the quadruple, what then? But so I'm no real regrets other than a fickle football fan, where you want everything. What about yourself?
Yeah, the reason why I asked it was because after the Southampton game, Jurgen Klopp said something. It's the first time he said it, and the guy said, and the interview asked him. He said to him, "Well, what do you think of you Aston Villa could do you a favour, and all this, and you've got to the season. Is there anything can happen? Do I expect Man City to win? When was the last time they didn't win 2?" And he sort of, and I don't know how we got to it. We got to the point, and he said, "You look at some of the refereeing decisions we've had, it's been ridiculous." He said, if you look at the Spurs game, you look at it now, watch it now. It's just absolutely crazy how some of those decisions went against us. And that's the first time I almost think he's thought, do you know what? I can't knock the lads for any of the forms, any of the goals. And like, if we've dropped 2 points or dropped 2 points from giving up a 2-goal lead, that's on us. But officiating, but when it's that bad. And I almost felt, because I didn't see that because I was on a flight and I landed and it was too old, do you know what I mean? And he was telling me about some of the worst, and I watched them back and I was like, wow, that is horrendous, we know that. But for him just to mention, that's why I thought any regrets. And then I got to start thinking, I said, do you know what, we've given goals, we've dropped games where we're 2-0 up, and I thought, we can't, I've got no regrets. That's not a regret, that. You talk about draws, we're going to get 90 plus points. I mean, what planet are we living on, do you know what I mean? If it wasn't for us, and we mentioned it before, the league would be like a French league, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Man City absolutely nicking it every season. So no, I've got no regrets, regardless of what happens and what this team's given us and done to us. I mean, I always think this is more than sport and football. It's the feeling it gives you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many times does, you know, like I mean, Becky says to me when you're downstairs watching, and she says to Jasmine, Liverpool, and she's like, I really hope Liverpool win because Daddy will be in a good mood. Now that's, do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be like that, but it is. Do you know what I mean? And it influences you and stuff. And then I've had my next door neighbour coming. You know, you like to shout, don't you?
But what I think, you know, what kind of levels me out is that, you know, we've obviously lived through Konchesky, Roy Hodgson. We've lived through that era. Now, whereas younger fans, they may not be able to appreciate a time where we were so poor that you can, like, you know, even if we'd have won nothing this year, even if we'd have got beaten all of the finals, we could still appreciate the fact of what the lads have actually done. But the fact that they went that extra yard and, you know, they managed to come through, you know, the strength of the mentality, especially against the quality Chelsea side in both games. But it's funny you say that with the, you know, the way that your mood changes. Penalty shootout against Chelsea. Obviously, Mane. I said to Charlotte, my partner, she was watching it with me, and I was like, I knew Mane was going to score. I knew he was going to score, and I was like, he's going to do it, and that's it. And as soon as he missed, my mood completely changed. She was like, oh my God, she did not want to say anything to me, and then it got to a point where I was like, the momentum swung in that penalty shootout, and when they scored, and then I was like, Diogo Jota with probably the most important penalty of that whole shootout, leveled it up, and then obviously they missed, and then I celebrated at the end of it, and I said and she said to me, "That's how quickly just that kick has changed your mentality on a pendulum swing, and that changes your whole mood for the week." But yeah, regardless of whether we won or lost or anything like that, you know, you can't help but be proud of these players because, you know, you are competing. You know, I don't like to harp on about City's because I love the way City play, and I like Pep Guardiola as a manager. I like his style and everything like that. So I don't like to harp on about it, but in reality, you are competing with a state, and we can't afford to get signings wrongs. We can't really afford to get anything wrong, whereas them, they write it off at any possible chance.
So we brought Jack Grealish up, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, again, just like, we'll just hide him away. But no, just the penalty shootouts. I mean, we've obviously watched a couple over the last couple of weeks now, just because with the, you know, everything season finishing and stuff. And the two that really stick out to me are the Sheffield United Nottingham Forest semi-final penalty shootout. And I'm just thinking it's the emotional, mental anguish that it has on you. Do you know what I mean? And how it can affect your health, your mental health. It just literally, the emotions are so high and it's so close. And then the bit I don't get is, how do the managers come up after that and able to give a coherent interview? Because I will be I'm like, I'll be one-word answers for everything. I'm like, stupid questions, stupid answers, and it's unbelievable. That was the one I really felt for Sheffield United. And then the other one was obviously Rangers against Frankfurt when they got beaten. I mean, I was a Rangers fan because I've got. Do you remember Stu Kent Wedding? He was there. He was there at the game, and I had a couple of mates from Bradford who were big Rangers fans as well. So I had, like, you know, and I wanted Rangers to do well. I felt for them. I really did, and then just watching them lose that, and it's so tough. Penalty shootouts are horrible, but it's interesting because I genuinely don't think it's a lottery. I don't think it's a lottery because pressure, what it is, it's just skill under pressure, and that's what it is. So when we play, we can play in a park and be absolutely fine, do everything absolutely brilliant. And then you play in front of 100 people, you get a bit more nervous. You know, when the ball's coming to you, can you control it, all that sort of stuff. And then you play in front of 1,000, and you play in front of 80,000. The levels just keep going up, but then it's how good you are under pressure. Now, penalty shootout, it's like you've got literally 10 seconds of clearing your mind and being able to, you be a keeper and trusting your technique to put the ball in the corner. And that's what it is. And some players just collapse. You get some keeper, I think it was a Frankfurt guy who just smashed it over the bar. Oh no, it was the Forest guy who smashed it over the bar. That was a winning penalty if he scored.
Yeah.
And it's just like moments like that. You think, how is that even a thing? You watch England over the years, you watch loads of teams losing penalties. It comes down to skill under pressure. So I'm not having it's a lottery because the better team generally winning penalties.
And it's also about preparation. I read a really interesting article. I can't remember whether it was The Athletic that I read it in. And they compared both Klopp and Tuchel's post-match meeting with the players, huddle just before penalties, and they basically analysed Klopp, how he went round each individual player personally and asked them personally, do you want to do it? And it was a quick yes, arm around them. By the time Klopp had finished that, all of his named players, Tuchel had them all in a circle and was basically asking them in front of everybody else. Liverpool had finished by that point. Liverpool, Jurgen was joking about with Van Dijk. The players would look relaxed, and straight away, the Liverpool players claimed the closest part of the centre circle to the touchline, so they were very close to their own people. It was like, it broke down loads of different things where the Liverpool players were a lot more relaxed. And I know it's easy to say because they won it, it was so close. But there are those little things, and I think those details do help. But I just wanted to know your opinion. I heard something earlier on penalty shootouts and, the harshness of it. Like, obviously, the best way you can win a game, worst way you can lose a game. And there was a couple of people that I were listening to, and they were saying that it's so harsh that it should just should just find a solution for penalty shootouts. And I heard one quite interesting, right? Someone said, put the penalty shootouts before a final, like before we even kick off in the game, take the penalties, because then who has won a penalty shootout. So the team who obviously didn't win the penalty shootout has got to go for it before the time is up, which is quite interesting. But then I thought, everyone will just stanch them. You'll just be going, because it's less pressure. That, you still got a game before that. So it was an interesting idea to take away, that whole, Aaron Ramsey's going to feel so bad today. And it's a way to take away that element of it. But you can't beat the drama of how it already is. I just want to know your thoughts on that.
No, I think there's been loads tried. I mean, I remember one of the most painful defeats I've ever had in my life was the golden goal at Euro 2000 when Trezeguet scored against Italy. I remember that because they literally scored equalising in injury time in that instance. They went to extra time. It was a golden goal. So if you scored, that's it. For the younger viewers, if you scored a goal, the next time it was game over. So first,
and that's harsher than anything.
And that was literally, and you've got to think that's the European Championship final, okay? And Trezeguet scored, and it's done. There's no coming back. There's nothing. There's just celebrations, and you're just collapsed and you're dead, and you finished. It's gone. So at least with a penalty shootout, you can sort of put yourself in a position. Silver goal was similar, but it was like up until that half. So if you scored a goal in the first half, it was game over. And it played till the end of that first half. But I mean, like I said, you've absolutely nailed it. It's absolutely right. It makes sense. I say it makes sense. It's an idea. It's a different idea, but there's no pressure on. The whole drama of the penalty shootouts and what gives it to that moment is the fact it's a penalty shootout. It's something that's been going on for years. I think I'm absolutely all for change, but I think there's some things in life and some things in sport you've just got to leave and let them run their natural course. So I just think it's harsh, but everyone knows the process. You've tried now for 90 minutes. I mean, you get to the 25th minute of extra time and teams start to play cautiously. They'll keep the ball back. You won't press as much. You know what I mean? Subconsciously, you're preparing for a penalty shootout now. Do you know what I mean? So you're not going to go for the risk there anyway. So but if someone with those 5 minutes really wants to go for it, you go for it. Do you know what I mean? So there's no one stopping you. So I think the penalty shootouts absolutely it's harsh, but it's the right way to do it. Unfortunately, I mean, I've had some horrible defeats in the penalty shootout, both as a player and as a fan. So, but I wouldn't change it because I think there's a certain element of beauty to it. Rangers fans wouldn't agree with that right now, but do you know what I mean? I just think there's an element that we just really don't want to do anything with that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
So moving on, we'll go back to the title race. Obviously, Man City they play against Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa. Aston Villa are actually in action tonight against Burnley, which is kind of weird in a schedule in the sense that Villa have to play so close games so close together. But I'm kind of hoping Stevie puts out the under 12s tonight and rests the player. But do you? I'm going to assume I'm not going to falsely. I'm not going to count my chickens. But let's just say that Liverpool beats Wolves. Do you see any chance of an upset from Villa?
I do, because I just think the whole thing around, you've got Coutinho, Ings, Watkins. I thought they played well against us, and I thought we had a tough game there to get the 2-1. So I absolutely think, yes, it can happen, but it's football, anything can happen. I think the fact that we've got to the final stage, the pressure's on Man City, they've got to win. If it gets to second half and it's still 0-0, you know what I mean? It's different. Yeah. It's a different kind of game. I'm hoping Stevie G's, signed, is able to sign him up, register himself as a player so he can stick his boots on.
Well, rumours are going about that, wasn't
there? I know, yeah. But no, I just think I think it's brilliant the way it is. So I think what we'll do now is we'll move on to the Champions League, talk about Spurs and Arsenal.
Yes.
Go on, I'll give that to you. What's Arsenal? I mean, the best way I'll sum it up is Arsenal have been the Spurs, haven't they?
They have, but Spurs can still do a Spurs, So obviously, Arsenal are in the box seat, and I have a soft spot for Arsenal, so I wanted them to take it over Spurs, but no one can deny it. It's that old saying, where you finish is where you earned, where you deserve to finish at the end of the day, and. Arsenal have effectively bottled it. I can't believe the level of performance that they put in against Newcastle. You can understand the Spurs game. I always felt that they were up against it, going to White Hart Lane, beating Spurs, but they made some rash decisions, some stupid decisions, and then it was down to the Newcastle game, and I still thought, they still have that a little bit of defensive resilience that would, maybe get them to about the 70th minute, and then eventually the quality will tell, and they'll maybe nick a goal. But Newcastle were well up for it. They look ready for next season. They don't want the season to end now. They're ready for next season already. And then obviously Spurs, I think they got very lucky in the game against Burnley, because Burnley were brilliant. Yeah. They were absolutely brilliant. It was one of the best performances I've seen from Burnley, especially the second half. And they got a very similar penalty award to Liverpool in the Champions League, where Mane hit it off. I think it was one of the players' hands. Anyway, they got that penalty, and that was the single goal. So I was, it's fine lines, but it would not. I tell you what, it would not surprise me if Norwich turned over Spurs on the final day, and then Arsenal not win as well.
It's just it wouldn't be. I'm slightly different. I want Spurs to do well just because of Conte. I think he's a brilliant manager, top manager. He genuinely is, and I think if he had more resource behind him, I think he'd be challenging for the title with Klopp and Guardiola. But no, I think Spurs. I think Eddie Howe is interesting. I think one of I don't want to go ahead of our question of the day, but I think he's been absolutely brilliant this season. But so I'm not going to ask you the Liverpool and Man City who's going to win the league, because we're not going to say anything about that other Champions League.
Absolutely.
The question I've got is who's going to finish fourth, and it's probably an easy one. Spurs or Arsenal.
Yeah. As much as I joke about it, Spurs will not get beat by this Norwich team. They are absolutely horrific. And you can clip that. There is no way. And even if Spurs do win, I back Everton to beat Arsenal. So there it is. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Mention Arsenal, Everton. So that takes us on to the next one. So we've got the relegation as well. Now we've got three things. Not often you've got the Premier League title, the Champions League spaces spots, and the relegation up for grabs. So I'm looking at, you've got Everton, Burnley and Leeds. Leeds massive point that, so they've got a point. They're out of the relegation zone. But Burnley are obviously playing tonight. They've got 2 games, and Everton have got 2 games left. So how do you see it?
Well, I did not see Leeds getting relegated, let's say, a month back. I just thought they were just too far out of it, but somehow they've been pulled into it. And, Everton, they've grabbed a couple of results where I thought that they wouldn't. Luckily, I'd say. Burnley, they are probably playing the better football out of the 3 teams that are about to go down, and I think it'd be unfortunate because I do like the new manager. I think he's brings something different to Burnley. But I think who Burnley got tonight?
Palace. No, not Palace. They've got
Everton have got Palace, and Burnley have got Aston Villa. Yeah. So depending on what Steven Gerrard wants to do, Steven Gerrard's languishing down the table probably a lot worse than what he'd imagined. He'll want to finish strong. So I do expect Villa just to be too strong. They might get a draw at Burnley, but Everton, I think they'll get beat by Palace, even though it's at home. I think Palace are a quality side under Vieira these days. They need a win. If they win, obviously they get still. But for me, I just think Leeds have left it too late. They've got a difficult game against Brentford, and I think Leeds will go down.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm close to Leeds, and I've got.
I'm hoping Leeds don't go down.
I want Leeds to stay up, but I just think there's the point could be massive. The thing with that is we've just been in a relegation battle there, obviously, and it's completely different level. But when you get that point and you're ahead of a team, even though they've got games in hand, when you're at the bottom, you don't win or draw many games, and that's the reason you're at the bottom. So I think if Burnley don't win tonight, then Leeds could almost lose the way to Brentford. They could lose the last game and still stay up because they're ahead. So Burnley have got that pressure of having to get a result, and I don't think it's that easy. And I think tonight will show that. I almost think if Burnley lose today, I think Leeds will stay up just because it means Burnley have got to win the last game. I think it's really tough when there's pressure on you and the whole, how that works. But yeah, just talking about Leeds just really quickly. A lot of Leeds fans were angry that Bielsa got sacked. And even though they're obviously supporting Jesse Marsch and everything, because they just felt Bielsa, a great manager, but he got sacked when there was a lot of injuries. And then the injuries sort of seemed to get better, and Jesse Marsch has then played whoever the top Man City, Arsenal, and Chelsea won it, and he's lost bounce. But he's had players get sent off at really stupid times and stupid tackles, you know what I mean? So just the whole thing being a bit of a mess. But yeah. We've come to the end of the podcast, and as we always say, if you've listened to us this far, you obviously must like something we're talking about. So click that like and subscribe button, share it with your friends and family, and you never know, they might like it as well. But yeah, Chris, anything from you before I jump into the question of the day?
No, I'm just looking forward to a crazy last day. I'm just hoping, Stevie pulls it off. But if he doesn't, again, we'll be proud over the lads, and hopefully we'll wrap that treble up against Real Madrid.
Yeah, hopefully so. Just one final thing for me as well. For all our fantasy football players in our league, this is it. So you've got one game left at the end of the season. We will do another podcast following, end of the season. And
how are we doing? Are we looking likely we're going to win it?
No, we're very firmly in the Wolves category of mid-table, so we're not doing anything. We can't even get Wooden Spoon Wales in award, and we can't win it as well. So I think Alex won it in this Christmas, and if he wins it, it's 50 quid. So we owe him 70 quid if he wins. And I said, "Oh, just keep it tight, and we'll do it. We'll do it at the end together."
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's obviously to look forward to as well. But and that's it, guys. So we will just move on to the question of the day, and it's from me today. So the question of the day is a really simple one. There've been some brilliant performances from teams this season, and it's a real simple one. Who is your manager of the year? I mentioned Eddie Howe earlier because I think he's been brilliant. Obviously, Klopp's nearly a quadruple. Guardiola's been ridiculous. Conte coming and doing what he's doing. So some really great shouts out there. But yeah, manager of the season. Stick it down there. And as always, we do reply to every single comment.
So just before we wrap up, who is your manager of the season?
I've got to go Jurgen Klopp for what he's done. I mean, Eddie Howe deserves a huge shout, but Klopp, what he's done, can't every single game get to 3 cup finals, chance to win the league. So, yeah, that's me. What about you?
Yeah,
quick.
No, I'm the same. Eddie Howe potentially, but no, there's no comparison. Jurgen Klopp.
All right, guys. Thanks for that, and thank you again, Chris. Hopefully, we'll do a bit more often instead of every month.
See you later, guys.
See you.
Bye.